Most people don't have a problem with effort. They have a problem with thinking. And until that changes, nothing else will. Because the biggest mistake you're making right now is not a lack of opportunity. It's not bad luck. It's not even your environment. It's the way you approach problems. You see, when most people face a challenge, they react. They look for quick answers. They copy what others are doing. And when it doesn't work, they get frustrated. But high-level thinkers don't operate like that. They don't rush. They don't assume. They don't follow blindly. They step back. And they ask a different question. What is actually true? There was a time when Elon Musk was on the edge of losing everything. His company, SpaceX, was failing. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Rocket launches destroyed. Millions of dollars gone. And with every failure, the pressure increased. The doubts grew louder. And the expectation was clear. He was going to fail. Now think about that for a second. 3 major failures, back to back. Most people wouldn't recover from that. Most people would walk away. But he didn't. And the reason is simple. He wasn't thinking like everyone else. Instead of seeing failure as the end, he treated it as information. Instead of reacting emotionally, he started analyzing, breaking everything down to the most basic level. This way of thinking is called first principles thinking. And once you understand it, you can never go back to thinking the same way again. Because most people don't actually think from the ground up. They think from assumption. They accept ideas without questioning them. They follow patterns they didn't create. And they build their decisions on foundations they never tested. But first principles thinking breaks all of that. It forces you to strip everything down to what is real, not what is popular, not what is comfortable, but what is fundamentally true. And once you get to that level, everything becomes clear. Because now, you're no longer guessing. You're no longer copying. You're no longer reacting. You're understanding. And from that point, you can rebuild smarter, stronger, more effective. This is exactly what separated Elon Musk from everyone else. While others saw repeated failure, he saw patterns. He studied every launch, every mistake, every weak point. And instead of quitting, he improved the system, piece by piece, until it worked. Now pause for a moment and be honest with yourself. When something goes wrong in your life, what do you actually do? Do you think or do you react? Because there is a difference, a big one. Most people say, I'm not making enough money, but that's not a real problem. That's a result. The real question is, why? Is it an income problem or a spending problem? Is it a skill issue or a discipline issue? Is it lack of opportunity or lack of clarity? Because every visible problem is only a surface level signal. Underneath it, there are layers. And if you don't go deeper, you will keep solving the wrong thing over and over again. This is why many people stay stuck. Not because they lack effort, but because they never identify the real problem. They react to symptoms instead of understanding causes. But high-level thinkers operate differently. They slow down. They observe. They question everything. And then they act with precision because they understand something most people ignore. Failure is not an endpoint. Failure is data. It tells you what doesn't work. It reveals where the weakness is. And it gives you direction, if you are willing to look at it properly. And when you start seeing failure this way, everything changes. You stop being emotional. And you start becoming strategic. You stop guessing. And you start understanding. You stop reacting. And you start building. Because the truth is simple. There is no problem too big if you are willing to break it down. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because now, you're not thinking like everyone else anymore. Now, you're starting to think differently. And once that happens, your results can't stay the same. Now that you understand how this works, let me show you how to apply it to your life in a way most people never will. Now that you understand how this works, let's go deeper. Because knowing first principles thinking is one thing. Applying it is what changes your life. And this is where most people get it wrong. They understand the idea, but they never use it. So nothing changes. Let's fix that. Starting now. The first step is to stop accepting problems at face value. Most people see a problem and immediately jump to a conclusion, but high-level thinkers pause. They ask, what is the real problem here? Not the obvious one, the real one, because what you see is rarely what's actually happening. For example, someone says, I'm not successful. That sounds like a problem, but it's not. It's a vague statement, a surface-level conclusion. A real thinker will break it down. What does not successful actually mean? Is it money? Is it lack of progress? Is it inconsistency? Is it lack of skill? Or is it lack of discipline? Because until you define the problem clearly, you cannot solve it. Clarity is power, and most people don't have it. The second step is to break the problem into parts. Strip it down. Remove the emotions. Remove the excuses. Remove the noise until all that remains are facts. Let's take money as an example. Someone says, I don't have money. That sounds like one problem, but it's not. It's multiple problems combined. It could be low income, poor financial decisions, lack of valuable skills, no clear strategy, or inconsistent action. Now notice this. Each one of these requires a completely different solution. But if you treat it as one big problem, you will stay confused. And confusion leads to inaction. This is why breaking things down is so powerful, because it gives you direction. The third step is to rebuild from truth, not opinions, not trends, not what people are saying online. Truth. You take the basic components and you ask, if I were to solve this from scratch, what would actually work? Not what looks good, not what sounds easy, but what is effective. This is where real thinking begins, because now you are no longer copying, you are creating. And this is the difference. Most people look for shortcuts. High-level thinkers build systems. Most people react. High-level thinkers design. Most people follow. High-level thinkers question. And that difference changes everything. Now, let's make this practical. Let's say your business is not growing. The average person will say, the market is bad. There is too much competition. People are not buying. But a first principles thinker will ask, is the product valuable? Is the offer clear? Is the marketing effective? Is the audience correct? Is the pricing right? Because if even one of these is weak, the entire system suffers. And once you identify the weak point, you fix it directly, not emotionally, not randomly, but precisely. This is how progress happens, not by doing more, but by thinking better. Now, let's go deeper, because this doesn't only apply to business. It applies to your life, your habits, your decisions, your future. If you feel stuck, break it down. If you feel confused, break it down. If you feel overwhelmed, break it down. Because every complex situation becomes simple when you reduce it to its core. And here's the truth most people avoid. Thinking is hard. Real thinking is uncomfortable. It forces you to question yourself, to challenge your beliefs, to admit that you might be wrong. And most people don't want that. So they stay at the surface. They follow. They copy. They repeat cycles. But if you're watching this, you're not here to stay average. You're here to understand, to grow, to think at a higher level. Because once you master this, you gain something powerful, clarity. And with clarity comes control. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling stuck. You stop depending on luck. And you start building your life with intention. So from today, don't just look at problems. Analyze them, break them down, understand them, and rebuild your solutions from the ground up. Because the moment you start thinking this way is the moment everything begins to change. And this is what separates those who win from those who keep trying. If you're ready to start thinking differently and you want more videos like this, you can subscribe and become part of this journey. This is Healthy Billionaire Academy, where thinking differently creates wealth, discipline builds power, and your future is designed, not left to chance. Because here, we don't just chase success, we build the mindset that attracts it.